Welcome to this week's edition of Falcon Focus. We are masked up and we are socially distanced and ready to go as we will talk women's soccer and ice hockey with Allison McElwee coming up in our second segment. But up first, we talk field hockey with the only head coach in the Falcon field hockey history, that being Sam Shesso, who is now in her fifth season at the field hockey helm. And, Coach, thanks for your time. And, in this COVID-19 time, things have certainly maybe felt or looked a little bit different. But obviously, with the field hockey season being at least, regular season-wise suspended until the springtime, how does training camp practice maybe look different from years past?
Well, just throw in the COVID practices, and that's a lot different. Having to do the socially distant practices, things like that, really break down the skill portion of our practices, so we can focus on that. Versus in the past or falls past, we would get kind of right into the game scenario type drills and things like that, and we don't always have the time to break down the small skills. So we've been really hitting that pretty hard this fall.
From an approach standpoint, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but okay, there was no spring season, so to speak, with COVID-19, and now with the regular season being pushed back, did you kind of treat the fall like it was the spring season, so to speak?
Yes, yeah, we did. And typically, though, in the spring, we kind of would break up our practices and do almost smaller groups where we'd work with just the forwards, just the midfield, or defense, goalies, things like that. And this year, we've had all of them together so far, so that's been a little bit different just because, for me, and I think for them as well, I think they want more of the normalcy, so they want practices to feel normal. So, once we were able to do full contact practices, we kind of just got right into it and started scrimmaging, things like that.
A lot of fun to have live sports back on campus this past Saturday from Thomasini Stadium, the blue-white field hockey scrimmage. Started off 8-on-8, eventually went to 7-on-7. The field shortened a little bit for the final three quarters, but I guess overall, when you look at how the rosters eventually would break down, thanks to injuries or whatever, it ended up being the white team who had a little bit more experience maybe that beat the blue team 7-2. I guess your takeaways from that blue-white game.
I thought it was great. Especially from where we are with the limited amount of practices we've been able to have. That was like our first big inter-squad scrimmage. So I was really impressed with our skill level this year. Obviously, we still have a lot of work to do. We've only been practicing, full contact and full contact drills for about 2 weeks. So still have work to do, and we have, luckily we have a lot of time before our spring season starts. But yeah, I was really impressed, and I'm really, missing that competing this fall because I think we'd be doing really well right now.
I would argue in that first half, not just based on the score, but even possession, that the white team dominated in the first half. But a different story in the second half, where it seemed like it was a little more even, certainly from a scoring standpoint. Both blue and white each had a couple of goals in that second half. That blue team has some of the newcomers on it and some of the freshmen. Were you pleased with the adjustments they made as the match progressed?
Yes, and I think at halftime they were a little down because it was kind of a Megan McPike show a little bit in the first half. So I think that they, once they remembered, this is an inter-squad scrimmage. We don't have to be so hard on ourselves. They were able to kind of relax a little bit more, figure out some things at halftime, and come back, and they tied both quarters the next half. So I was pleased with that.
How much fun was it for you? Because, okay, yeah, you're coaching and you're trying to, take in the action and approach it from a coaching standpoint, but he also doubles the referee.
Yeah.
So you're trying to also simulate, a regular season matchup. So how much fun did you have on Saturday trying to, juggle both positions?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I like officiating, and because, especially putting our players in that position where you can't, don't argue with the refs, and helping them learn the rules. And there are some adjustments from high school to college that some of our freshmen had to get adjusted to, as far as, 5 yards and being a little stricter with that. But yeah, that was fun. It was hard not to, I was giving suggestions to each team back and forth, but I didn't want to try to just focus on one team versus the other because I was the official.
Well, as you mentioned, that first half was the Megan McPike show, and if this was a regular season matchup, she would have set a program record with 5 goals in the matchup. Her record is 4 that she set last year, the last time the Falcons were at Thomasini Stadium against Transylvania. She looks like she's in midseason form, doesn't she?
Yeah, and she just got her cast off. She broke her wrist in the summer. She just got her cast off. She's been practicing with her cast on. She got it off on Friday, and then, or no, maybe it was Tuesday. But anyways, she showed up Saturday and brand new.
Well, and on that white team, Donna Peacock, another player that came up big, scored a couple of times. What did you see from Donna?
Yeah, I was very impressed with her. She's going to be a very big asset to our forward line this year. We also worked on Friday a little bit with her inserting and tipping on the near post on corner plays, and she scored off one of those plays. So that was really exciting to see her turn that over from just the day before and capitalize on that, what we worked on.
Sister Lori was the conference's newcomer of the year last fall. We only saw her a little bit in that first quarter. Have you seen some tweaks to her game at all, maybe from year one now to year two?
Yeah, definitely with Lori seeing a lot of confidence come into play. She knows that she's going to be stepping into Sam Dunn's role. Looking at Sam Dunn behind the camera again. She's going to be stepping into that center midfield role. So I think she's had a lot more confidence with that and kind of stepping up and kind of working with her on controlling the game and using her field awareness and her vision to distribute the ball accurately to our team.
Another player that I thought really stepped up and really on both ends of the field was Callie Newman. And how important has she become being one of the seniors, bringing that leadership?
Yeah, she's great because she's loud. She brings the energy, the positive energy. So she really keeps the team in it and gives them that energy to keep going. Because I mean, she can go for days. She has so much energy. She's so fast, but she can definitely she brings that to the team, and she starts the offense and gives them life.
And speaking of offense, at least in the second half of this blue-white game on the blue side, a very impressive freshman in Carolyn Slick. I got to bring her up, not only from the goal standpoint, but, man, a rocket of a shot, doesn't she? She has quite a zip on that windup.
And it's quick, too. She'll turn and shoot. You give her an inch, she'll take it. So very, very excited for her. I think they're going to do a lot of damage up front this year.
Now, her sister also transferred in from Christopher Newport. In fact, you go back to 2018, and she played a season high of 51 minutes that year against the Falcons. We didn't see her play on Saturday, but what does she bring to the Falcons?
So she's older. I think she technically would be a junior. I think credit-wise she's a sophomore. So she has 3 seasons with us. She is very composed back. She's usually like center defender, sweeper, very composed, very loud, very communicative, or lots of communication back there. So that's going to be really exciting to work with our defensive unit and then work on those transfers. I think she's going to be play a key role in starting the offense for us back on the defensive end.
Now, you speak about defense, and from a goalkeeping standpoint, you have a lot of experience back there with Caitlin Fitzgerald, Emily Binley. How much of a luxury is that to have those two with that experience?
Yeah, that's really nice to have both of them. They're both doing really well right now. They feed off of each other. They complement each other on certain skills. And they get along really, really great. So it's nice to see them support each other and to push each other in practices and things like that.
So the blue-white game is over now, and now the focus turns on whenever the regular season will get underway in 2021, the spring of 2021. So what happens between now and then to, I guess, keep these players in the mindset of field hockey?
Yeah, so we're going to keep practicing through the month of October at least, and then maybe even a little bit more if we're allowed. Excuse me. So, anyways. But, yeah, so we're going to keep practicing. They're going to keep lifting, keep training. So, typically, like, we would just transition into our off-season, and then our January, February would be our preseason again. So, just kind of keep them motivated and remember that we're going to play for that conference title in February and March. So, let's make sure we stay in shape even over the winter.
You have to mention, too, sharp new-looking uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
How did you have a hand in designing those?
Yes. With Under Armour, we did those. So that was pretty exciting, and I'm happy that they were able to wear them this year.
Now for the Falcons, they're coming off a 2019 campaign in which they went 6-11, and you look and the program was able to record 8 home matchups. That's a record. Also scored a program record, 37 goals. When you look back, I know it seems like ages ago that 2019 season happened, and a lot's happened in your life since. But how would you go about summarizing 2019?
It was a whirlwind, I think. I think it was really exciting from like a family standpoint. We talked about last time the gender reveal with that. I think that was really neat for me, being pregnant and having my team there and see them all excited and do that for us. That was awesome. I think there was some definitely highs and lows of that season. The highs were really high and some of the lows were not so great, but I think that we came together as a team, and I was really thankful that we could give our seniors those 8 home games. They've stuck with it the whole time, and so yeah, I think it was great. I think we ended, I think we proved, we belong in the SAA, and we're here to stay, and we're here to fight for that championship each year. So yeah, I think the seniors left it in a great place, and we're gonna keep building off of that.
I'll talk about the seniors in a second, but I want to go back to the gender reveal. You've had your baby boy
Yep.
now. How's motherhood?
It's great. It's quite an adjustment now, with being a new mom, and then the pandemic happening, and then coming back to work and trying to still figure out how to be a mom and be that coach and give equal time to both my my son and my players here. So, but it's a lot of fun, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And you brought up the seniors, and we mentioned Sam Dunn is behind the scenes, but she's one of the seniors from that 2019 season. Your first 4-year class in the field hockey's history. What do they mean to you? What do they mean just to the program's success?
Yeah, they mean a lot to me. I still try to keep in touch with them every so often. I'm fortunate Sam still works with us, but the other players are still either teaching, and some are even coaching high school field hockey, so it's still giving back to the game, which is awesome. So they mean a lot. Obviously, known them really well, know their families really well. So they're a big loss for us, but also I think they really set the standards for our program. They set the standards for the new players coming in, and they kind of set the culture for what we want, and how hard we want our players to work on and off the field, but also how we want them to connect with each other.
It's something I want to bring up too, and mention you're the only head coach in the program's history, and you look back, and here at Concordia, we've been blessed with a number of new sports added over the last decade plus, from hockey to, men's volleyball, the lacrosses, field hockey. In your opinion, what are the biggest challenges to starting a program and just starting to lay down that foundation?
I think for field hockey, it was a little different just because we're the only one still in the state. So I think that was a little difficult. The travel was the most difficult, I think. I think that was hard to keep some of our players in the beginning, maybe the ones that weren't as dedicated, but we needed to fill our rosters. Those first couple of years. But it's really rewarding at the same time to see our class, the first class graduate, to see who they've become, and also to see where they've left our program, like how all the accomplishments we've made in those first 4 years. So it is rewarding, and we're finally getting to a spot where we have, we're known now at tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't have to really introduce ourselves so much anymore, and there's field hockey in Wisconsin. So people are kind of learning about us, and we're kind of, definitely made our name for ourselves.
So to wrap it all up, as you reflect, what are you most proud of so far? Okay, this is season number 5. When you look at, again, where you've been, where you're headed, what are you most proud of so far with where field hockey's at?
I think I guess to kind of summarize that, I'm most proud of our players and who they are. I think, and every time I have a recruit on campus, I tell them, how hard they work on and off the field, but besides that, they're great people. So I'm really proud of that. And as far as our program goes, I'm proud that our success and what we've built so far matches who we have on our team, who those people, like what they stand for, things like that, and who they've become, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's what I'm really proud of. I'm definitely, I want to win all the
Sure.
time on and off the field. So I think, I just think that, the success of us, and then also you look at our graduating seniors and where they are now, I think that's what we can be proud of.
Well, Sam, great stuff. Thanks for your time, and continued success here this next month or so with practice, and we look forward to seeing you guys back out in the field in the springtime.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Matt.
That is Sam Shessel talking field hockey, and when we come back here on Falcon Focus, we talk about women's soccer and ice hockey with Allison McElwee. This is Falcon Focus on CWFalcons.com.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus. We got the hand sanitizer. If I can open it, that's always a plus. There we go. Got it working. Got the aerosol, and again, socially distanced and masked up. And here we go in week number 5. We turn our attention now to women's soccer and ice hockey. Allison McElwee, a senior, kind enough to join us. I always ask every athlete, especially if you're not from Wisconsin, how you ended up at Concordia. You're from Wyoming, so I have to know how you go from Wyoming to Mequon, Wisconsin.
I was kind of looking to play college hockey. It's not much to go out west towards me, so I wanted to head out this way. Didn't really like full East Coast, so I just kind of met in the middle and found this beautiful campus. So.
And when you look, are there some similarities to Wyoming and Mequon, Wisconsin? What are maybe some of the biggest differences?
Yeah, I'd say they're very similar, like weather-wise, pretty cold all around both places. So that's definitely the same. It's definitely bigger out here, especially heading into Milwaukee. That's something very different than back home. It's a lot smaller, a lot less people, but otherwise it hasn't been too big of an adjustment.
In high school, you played soccer, hockey, cross country. Was the hope always, I know you mentioned, playing hockey, but was the hope always maybe to try to play as many sports as you can at the collegiate level, or did that, the Concordia just kind of open up that opportunity to play both soccer and hockey?
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to play soccer and hockey a lot growing up. Towards my senior year, I pretty much narrowed it, just mainly looking for hockey. And then when I got here, Concordia was very open about the chance for me to play both, so I love that.
Do they play soccer in the springtime in Wyoming?
Yeah.
Okay. At this level, you do have the unique opportunity of playing both sports on top of your academics. I guess when you look at juggling all of that, how do you go about doing so?
Yeah, it's just a big time management thing. Both of my coaches are very great with working with me when my schedules overlap, so that's made it very easy. It honestly hasn't been too difficult to juggle both the sports. They overlap for a bit, which can get a little stressful, but other than that, just making sure I communicate with my coaches and my teachers what's going on, and everyone's been super helpful.
I was going to ask you about the overlapping. How do you go about determining who takes priority if all of a sudden the women's soccer season's coming to a close, hockey's underway? How do you go about determining where you're going to be and with whom?
Yeah, I try to get to some hockey practice every week, so my soccer coaches are really great about that. On some lower days, I can go and do a bit of hockey. Obviously, I just end up weighing the priority of the games. The end of our soccer season are some pretty big games, so I obviously try to be at those as much as I can, and my hockey coach is really nice with that too. It helps me get there.
You mentioned when we were talking about maybe some of the comparisons between Wyoming and here in Mequon, Wisconsin, you mentioned the weather. There's a lot of similarities. When you think about weather, though, especially soccer in the springtime, what are maybe, in your mind, some of the worst conditions you've maybe played in once upon a time?
Honestly, probably here at Concordia last year is some of the worst we've had for soccer. It was blizzarding. We were shoveling the snow up until games start pretty much. So that was a pretty cold winter. I will say Wyoming, we have significantly more wind. So those conditions were always hard to play, especially with soccer. We would have games that were just completely couldn't lift the ball off the ground or it would go wild. So that hasn't been so bad out here, but definitely probably last year was one of the coldest it's been.
Yeah, I have to ask you about the one game that I remember here. You had that tournament semifinal against Illinois Tech where all of a sudden you see everybody out there shoveling, trying to get the game started on time or relatively close to on time. What do you remember about that day? I mean, it was certainly an intense matchup, but how did the field play? Did it feel different with, still kind of frozen a little bit on top of the cold temperatures?
Yeah, so it was definitely all morning we were touch and go whether we were going to play or not. We weren't sure if it was going to line up for us, and finally we were we're just going to go for it. So we were able to get it, and honestly, I don't remember many any effects that the snow had on the game very much. I know The ball was moving fast, definitely on the wet ground, but other than that, it was pretty normal gameplay. So
Got to mention, too, you had a goal in that game. It led to the championship then at Dominican. How confident was the team going into that matchup, being that you guys just faced Dominican a couple of weeks earlier? They're certainly a team that, when you look at a measuring stick, you try to, emulate. You'd beaten them 5-0 2 weeks earlier. So how confident were you guys going into that championship?
yeah, so it was definitely, we knew we had not a lot to lose, honestly, because they're the team to beat, and we had a lot of confidence playing them before, winning them so dominantly, but we knew they were going to come back. They're a good team, good structured team, so we knew they'd play to our strengths and try to shut those down, which they did. But we just stayed as confident as we could, but knew we definitely going to have to work hard to get that.
They jumped in front 1-0. Some 5 minutes later, you assisted the equalizing goal that was scored by Selena Eston. What do you remember about that goal? Maybe what do you remember about just overall the match?
Yeah, so definitely getting down 1-0 in that is devastating, but we knew that if that happened, we couldn't let them get ahead because that momentum would be awful. So to get an equalizer so soon really helped us. We weren't like scratching, trying to crawl back the most of the game. So that was huge for Selena to get that finish there. And then I just know we were fighting down to the wire till we got our last goal there, which was amazing, and then just tried to hold them off.
What was there? How would you describe the feeling? Okay, the seconds are counting down. You guys start to realize, hey, we did it. We're going to the NCAA tournament.
I kind of couldn't even register it. Like when the game was over, I was still like in shock, wasn't really feeling it. It probably hit me a couple hours later, and I was like, this is real. Like we just won that. Like it took a while to sink in.
We talk about the overlapping season, so take us through that stretch where all of a sudden a deep run by the women's soccer team, plus hockey's underway. What were those last or maybe 2 or so weeks like for you from soccer and hockey?
Yeah, so that was definitely huge. Our soccer season was quite a bit longer last year, so it went pretty far into hockey. I ended up missing a lot of games, which is unfortunate, but I was still able to go to a lot with my soccer coach, and then just as soon as I finished there at the tournament, I was back at hockey the next week going full steam there.
Looking back, though, at soccer, in your opinion, what made that 2019 team, I guess, so special, so successful?
We just had a lot of really good girls. It was kind of a newer team that we were brought together, and just honestly a lot of talent, and we were able to play off each other, and it really worked out well for us. We figured out our systems, and we had some losses early on, which helped us learn from it, and we were able to figure out how to lose, how to come back from that, and it made us a really strong team.
On that championship matchup, I got to bring it up. You got a yellow card. You're listed at 5'3", but, I mean, you're tough, and you got to be tough. I mean, you're playing soccer. It's a physical sport, but even hockey. So when you look back, where does that toughness come from?
I'm not really sure. I guess I've just always been pretty competitive. I grew up on a farm in Wyoming, so I had a lot of siblings, a lot of fighting with my siblings, and then
You have, what, 3 older siblings?
and a younger one.
And a younger, okay.
Yeah, so probably just going through that, and then definitely the hockey and the soccer I was always very competitive in. So
You're number 13. And a lot of, athletes, coaches are superstitious. Usually when you see 13, you shy away. Look at hotels. There's not even a 13th floor in most hotels. You're 13 for both sports. Have you always been number 13? Are you superstitious?
I'm definitely not superstitious at all. I was number 12. I kind of switched numbers. I didn't really care about the number, so if I had teammates who cared what number they had, I would just let them take it. It wasn't really a big deal to me. So I came here and just picked a new number, and no one had 13. I kind of like it, so just stuck with that one.
So you don't fall for that Friday the 13th stuff.
No.
Which I might add is also the date for the first hockey game, Friday the 13th in November, when they get their season started against Adrian. Again, check CWFalcons.com out throughout for updates as that date comes closer. Okay, so soccer is going on right now, practice-wise. Hockey, a little bit of activity here and there. Have you been able to participate with both sports so far in this fall?
Yeah, I have. So we've been having captain's practices for hockey, which I've been going on Fridays when I can make it. And then this week we started our hockey strength testing. So that's every morning at about 7-ish. And then I'll head to soccer in the afternoon. So just kind of doing both, and soccer will finish up next week, and I'll head over fully doing hockey.
From a soccer standpoint, how's the team looking so far?
We're looking good. We've had kind of a rough, fall season. A lot of girls have been either sick or like in quarantine with contacts. We've kind of had small numbers, but we're getting back up, and we're going to have a couple scrimmages this week and next, so those should be good.
And you're coming off a 2019 season in which you were third-team All-Region, first-team All-Conference, and finished 6th in the nation with a total of 15 assists. First of all, how pleased were you with your play in 2019? And then I guess what goals do you have now for yourself in 2020, 2021?
Yeah, I was very happy with my season personally last year. I thought I improved a lot from the year before, which was great. I had really good teammates that helped me get those up. So goals for this year, just continue working with my team, hopefully get back to the championship game and finish that strong.
It's going to be kind of unique because, as mentioned, hockey is scheduled to start November 13th and the 14th against Adrian. But even from a soccer standpoint, it's like going back to your high school days because it will be a spring start to college soccer with a March 13th scheduled start date as of now against Marion. But you mentioned it, a couple of scrimmages coming up. First one will be on Thursday, a blue-white scrimmage at 3:30 out at Fitting Field. We'll have the broadcast for you on the Falcon Athletic Network, and then another blue-white scrimmage coming up a week from Wednesday. How excited are you? We'll wrap it up with this question, but how excited are you to just get back on the field and compete? Yeah, granted, it's Concordia against Concordia, but just to have some kind of a simulation of the game action.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I've definitely been itching for that, since I got here, to be able to play. It is different than a real competition, but it's still competitive, and we're going to play it like a game. So I'm very excited to get that feeling again, the competition, just pushing through and working through that, and hopefully figuring out some things within our team as well and kind of working through those.
Well, Allison, thanks a lot for your time, and best of luck this week. And
Thanks.
we'll see her in action on Thursday at 3:30 for that blue-white scrimmage. We thank Allison McElwee, Sam Schessel talking field hockey, behind the scenes, Sam Dunn, Jeremy Crawford. Matt Meadow, so long. Thanks for joining us. And again, as long as it's safe to do so, we'll join you next week for Falcon Focus here on CUWFalcons.com.